Okay, picture this. You get a call, and the voice is ice cold. We have your daughter, $1 million, or you'll never see her again. That kind of primal fear, it just hits you, right?
Oh, absolutely. What do you even do?
Exactly. How do you start? How do you navigate something that terrifying?
Well, that kind of high-stakes, really visceral scenario, it strips away all the fluff, doesn't it? It gets right down to the absolute core of negotiation.
And that's precisely the kind of intense world that our source material today, Never Split the Difference, takes us into.
It really does.
Welcome, everyone, to The Deep Dive. We're the show that takes your reading list, boils it down, and gives you those key insights fast.
We know you're busy.
Right. We're talking to you, the learner. You've got that sharp mind. You want to graph complex stuff quickly, see different angles, get those aha moments, but, without getting totally bogged down.
So today, we're diving deep into negotiation principles, all drawn from this really fascinating book.
Yeah, we've got excerpts, and our mission, really, is to pull out actionable techniques. Yeah. Stuff you can actually use, not just in boardrooms or, crisis calls, but in all sorts of situations.
And the big takeaway, it's not just about logic, not at all. It's fundamentally about understanding human emotion.
Okay, so the book sets up this really interesting contrast right from the start.
Yeah.
You've got the academic world, like Harvard in the 80s, with their rational actor models.
Right, very focused on economic analysis, assuming everyone makes logical choices to maximize their own game, getting the biggest slice of the pie, basically.
And then you've got the FBI's approach, developed, in the trenches. Real-world hostage situations, completely different perspective.
Worlds apart, really. And the author, who was the FBI's lead international kidnapping negotiator for years, he actually went to Harvard.
Ah, okay, so he experienced both worlds.
He did, and here's where it gets fascinating. They did these negotiation role plays, him against these super bright Harvard students.
Yeah, how'd it go?
Well, his practical FBI technique stuff like, just asking specific kinds of questions, listening intensely, they completely outperformed the students' theory-based strategies.
Oh,
yeah. The instructor, Sheila, she was apparently just stunned. It was a huge wake-up call for the students. They saw that pure theory kind of crumbles when real human emotions are involved.
Wow. So that really highlights the gap, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Theory versus messy reality.
Precisely. And it showed the limits of thinking everyone's just perfectly rational. At the same time, you had thinkers like Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky doing groundbreaking work in psychology.
Right, the cognitive bias guys.
Exactly. They were showing how things like the framing effect, how you present info or prospect theory, how we feel losses more than gains, loss aversion, how all these biases totally shape our decisions. We're not purely logical calculators. Kahneman himself said, it's obvious people aren't fully rational or purely selfish. Our emotions, our gut feelings, they drive so much.
So if our decisions are often run by this, system one, thinking that fast, intuitive, emotional brain, and just negotiating based on system two.
Yeah.
The slow, rational part, it's like, you're missing half the picture, right? You need to understand the emotions.
That's the core insight. And it led to a massive shift in how the FBI approached negotiation. They moved away from just rational bargaining, like in older books such as Getting to Yes.
They started bringing in emotional intelligence, psychological skills.
Absolutely. They realized that in a crisis, emotions aren't roadblocks. They're the actual pathway to a resolution. You have to work with them.
And the book argues this isn't just for crises. Negotiation is everywhere.
It really is. It's about gathering information, influencing behavior. Whether you're closing a deal, talking to your boss, or even figuring out plans with your family, the book boils it down beautifully. Negotiation is just communication with results.
Communication with results. I like that. Okay, so let's get practical. What are some of these core techniques? The book starts with mirroring or isopraxism.
Yes, sounds technical, isopraxism, but it's actually quite simple. It's the subtle art of imitation.
Imitation, like copying someone.
Sort of, but really subtly. You might repeat the last few words they said or match their tone slightly, their body language, the pace they're talking at. It's something we often do unconsciously, actually.
Why does that work?
It builds rapport. It sends this subconscious signal. Hey, we're alike. We're on the same wavelength. It kind of lowers defenses and builds trust almost instantly, like a silent agreement.
Okay, and the book had that intense example. The bank robber, Chris Voss.
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful one. After the negotiator mirrored him, Watts just started. Well, the book says vomiting information.
Vomiting information? Seriously?
Yeah, revealed details about an accomplice they didn't even know existed, helped them catch the getaway driver. Huge breakthrough.
Wow. But there's a catch, right? You don't just mirror and then jump in with questions.
No, exactly. You got to let it breathe, maybe use a bit of silence after the mirror, let that feeling of similarity sink in before you push forward. It's delicate.
Okay, so mirroring builds that initial connection. What's next? Labeling.
Labeling, yes. This is about giving someone's feelings a name. You spot an emotion and you articulate it.
Like saying, you seem angry.
You could, but maybe softer. It seems like you're feeling frustrated, or it sounds like you're concerned about X. The idea is that acknowledging an emotion helps manage it. It neutralizes negatives and can even reinforce positives.
How do you spot the emotion accurately, though?
The book talks about the words, music, and dance. You listen to their actual words, pay attention to their tone of voice, the music, and watch their body language, the dance. That gives you the full picture.
And there's science behind this, like brain science.
There is. Really cool study. Brain scans show that when people labeled their own negative emotions, it calmed down activity in the amygdala.
The fear center.
Exactly. So putting language to the feeling actually reduces its intensity. It's quite amazing.
So give me an example in a tense situation.
Well, maybe saying calmly, it looks like you don't want to go back to jail. It sounds direct, but delivered calmly, it shows understanding.
Or that story the author tells about diffusing anger with an FBI official just by saying,
Look, I'm an asshole.
yeah. Owning a mistake, labeling his own perceived negative trait, it just disarmed the situation immediately. It takes guts, but it works.
And it works in business, too, like that Washington Redskins ticket example.
Perfect example. Instead of demanding payment, they'd start by labeling the fans' likely stress. It sounds like things might be tough financially right now. It diffused the tension, opened up a real conversation.
Or the Girl Scout cookie donor, sensing hesitation and just naming it.
Right. I'm sensing some hesitation.
Yeah.
It got the donor to reveal their actual concerns, which weren't about the projects themselves. So labeling validates feelings, makes people feel heard.
Yeah.
Huge.
Okay, so labeling tackles emotions directly. Then there's the accusation audit. Sounds kind of negative.
It does sound counterintuitive, doesn't it? But it's incredibly proactive. Basically, you list out all the negative things the other side might be thinking or feeling about you or the situation.
You say the bad stuff first.
About yourself.
Exactly, before they even get a chance to. You preempt the accusations. You probably think we're being unfair, or you might feel like we don't understand your position.
Why would you do that?
It diffuses the negative emotions, takes the sting out of them. It also shows you understand their perspective, even the potentially critical parts. It builds trust, surprisingly.
Like Anna's company working with ABC, worried about being squeezed out.
Precisely. Anna's team started by saying things like, it probably looks like we, the big contractor, are just trying to take advantage of the small business here. By voicing ABC's fears first, they could then have a much more productive conversation about the necessary pay reductions. It cleared the air.
Got it. So mirror, label, maybe do an accusation audit. What about tactical empathy? How's that different from just empathy?
Good question. Regular empathy is understanding someone's feelings. Tactical empathy is understanding their feelings and their mindset in that moment, and critically, what's behind those feelings.
So it's more strategic.
Yes. The goal isn't just to understand, it's to use that understanding to increase your influence, to see the emotional barriers and also the pathways to agreement. It's not sympathy, you don't have to agree with them or feel sorry for them. Right, it's understanding to influence. Exactly. Think of that Harlem hostage situation. The negotiator talking calmly through a closed door for hours, couldn't see them, but used that calm, understanding tone, that tactical empathy to de-escalate everything. It's about seeing the world through their eyes to find the way forward.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. The word no, people hate hearing it, they hate saying it, but the book turns this on its head.
Completely. It argues we shouldn't fear no. In fact, no is often where the real negotiation begins. It's a sign they're engaged, thinking, not just passively agreeing. It's often better than a fake yes.
A fake yes.
Yeah, you know, when someone says yes just to get you off the phone or end the conversation, but they have no intention of following through, that yes is worthless. A no is honest. It gives you something real to work with.
The author even wanted to be a hostage negotiator and kept getting told no.
Right. Amy Bondireau kept rejecting him. But each no was a chance to learn, adjust, understand why, and eventually get the real yes he needed. No is often the start, not the end.
So pushing hard for a yes right away can backfire.
Definitely. Makes people defensive, they feel cornered. Instead, the book suggests using no-oriented questions.
Look what? Give me an example.
Instead of, do you have time to talk? No, is now a bad time to talk.
Ah, okay. It gives them control. It feels safer to say no if it is a bad time.
Exactly. And paradoxically, that makes them more likely to talk honestly, maybe schedule a better time. A no often just means wait, or I'm not comfortable yet, or I need more info. It's rarely absolute.
And you can even try to get a no, intentionally mislabeling.
Yeah, it's a clever tactic sometimes. If you deliberately misstate their position slightly, they'll jump in to correct you with a, no, that's not it, it's actually. And boom, they're engaged, explaining their real view.
So it's all about getting into their world, making the solution feel like their idea.
That's a huge part of it, letting them feel in control, even while you guide the conversation.
Okay, so if no is a starting point and a fake yes is bad, what are we aiming for? The book talks about that's right.
Ah, yes, that's right. That's the golden phrase. That's the breakthrough moment.
Not you're right.
No, you're right. Can be like that fake yes. Someone says it to make you go away. You're right. You're right. Okay, fine. But that's right. That means they feel truly understood on a deep level. It's visceral.
Like in that Philippines hostage situation with Sabaya.
Exactly. The negotiator, Benji, didn't argue. He used active listening silence, little encouragers like, mirroring Sabaya's words, labeling his feelings, just focused on understanding Sabaya's worldview.
And eventually Sabaya said,
Eventually, after feeling completely heard, Sabaya said, that's right. And that was the turning point, a genuine shift.
the book contrasts that with the author's son, Brandon, right?
Huh.
Where you're right didn't change anything.
Right, saying you're right might stop the argument for a minute, but it doesn't create buy-in or change behavior like that's right does.
And this applies in sales, career stuff.
Absolutely. The farmer rep who got the doctor to say that's right by focusing on the doctor's real concern, patient care, or the student getting their old boss to realize they needed an internal advocate, getting them to say that's right revealed the true motivation and paved the way for agreement.
So that's right signifies real understanding, which leads to real change.
It shows you've successfully summarized their world back to them accurately. That's incredibly powerful.
Okay, let's get into some more advanced stuff. Bending reality, creating leverage. This isn't just a simple formula, is it?
Not at all. Leverage isn't always obvious, and the book really hammers home. Don't just compromise or split the difference for the sake of getting a deal. Sometimes no deal is better than a bad deal.
Even in kidnapping, that sounds tough.
Especially then sometimes. A bad deal can set dangerous precedents. And deadlines. They're often more flexible than they seem. Understanding their deadline pressure gives you leverage.
Like the Haitian kidnappings and the weekend timing.
Exactly. Knowing they wanted things wrapped up before the weekend created an opening. Also, how specific are their threats? Vague threats often mean less urgency than specific ones.
The book brings in the ultimatum game, too. That shows how irrational we are about fairness.
Oh, yeah. People will reject free money if they feel the offer is unfair. We hate feeling ripped off more than we rationally like gaining something. Loss aversion again, tied to fairness.
And that plays out in huge deals. Robin Williams' contract, Iran sanctions.
Absolutely. Perceptions of fairness, even if they seem irrational, drive real-world outcomes. And watch out for how the word fair is used. They might use it to make you defensive. We just want what's fair.
Or you can use it strategically yourself.
Right. And anchoring is key here, too. Anchor their emotions first. Maybe talk about non-monetary things to set a positive frame before you even mention numbers. Establish a range for your offer, a well-reasoned one.
Okay, this leads nicely into black swans, the unknown unknowns.
Yes. Those pieces of information you don't even know you're missing, but that could change everything. They're not things you know or even things you know you don't know. They're complete surprises.
And finding them gives you massive leverage.
Huge leverage multipliers. The trick is uncovering them. You need to understand the different types of leverage first.
Which are?
Positive leverage, what you can give them that they want. Negative leverage, what you can do to make things worse for them. And normative leverage, using their own rules, beliefs, or standards against them.
And finding black swans often means understanding their religion. Not literally, but their worldview.
Exactly. Their core values, what truly motivates them deep down. What's their driving philosophy? Understanding that is how you stumble upon black swans.
Like the Washington Monument climber, Watson, and knowing about the dawn of the third day.
Perfect example. That specific religious timing was the key, the black swan. Or the CEO who valued stewardship above pure profit. Knowing that unlocked the negotiation. Listen for their hopes. their dreams.
And just giving a because reason helps, especially if it links to their religion.
Research shows it's surprisingly effective. Even a simple reason helps, but one tied to their values. Very powerful. Sometimes their seemingly irrational behavior is actually a clue pointing to a black swan.
Like that student buying the apartment building way below asking.
Right. He uncovered the seller's hidden need, a super fast close, which was the black swan that let him get the deal he wanted. It wasn't about the price for the seller, it was about the speed.
Okay, the book also breaks down negotiator types. Accommodators, assertives, analysts?
Yeah, 3 broad styles. Accommodators focus on the relationship. Assertives want to get it done, time is money. Analysts need all the data. Very methodical.
And you need to adapt your style to theirs.
Absolutely. Don't assume your way is the only way. Recognize who you're dealing with. And you still need boundaries, even with accommodators. That tough love idea, collaborative but firm.
Then there's the Ackerman model for hard bargaining. How does that work again?
It's a structured way to make concessions. Start with an anchor, say 65% of your target price. Then make plan increases 85%, 95%, then your final offer at 100%.
And in between?
Use calibrated questions and use precise non-round numbers for your offers, like $37,850 instead of $40,000. It makes them seem calculated and firm. Use labeling, too. Miss Sherry's rent negotiation is a great example in the book.
So preparation is everything here. Goals, labels, questions, all planned out.
Preparation is non-negotiable, ironically. You need that ambitious goal and your toolkit ready.
So we've got the deal, that's right.
Yeah.
But the book stresses, getting yes isn't the end. It's about implementation. How?
Oh, absolutely critical. An agreement means nothing if it doesn't get done. Negotiators are decision architects. You need to ensure execution, not just consent.
Like that prison siege story, where a simple misunderstanding almost blew the whole surrender.
Exactly. Tiny details in implementation matter hugely. Or Jose's kidnapping in Ecuador using how questions bought crucial time and drove the ransom down. The deal with the Florida company fell apart because the implementer, the division head, wasn't bought in.
So how and what questions are key to making sure it actually happens and dealing with aggressive tactics?
Yes, they force the other side to think about the practicalities. How are we supposed to do that? What does implementation look like? They can really diffuse aggression and uncover hidden problems. Alistair's kidnapping negotiation showed that power too.
Okay, last bit. Detecting lies and saying no, effectively revisited.
Right. The 738-55 rule words are only 7%, tone 38%, body language 55% of emotional communication. Pay attention to all 3.
And the rule of 3.
Ask the same calibrated question 3 different ways over time. Liars often struggle to keep their story consistent. Also, watch for the Pinocchio effect. Liars tend to use more words, more third-person pronouns.
And saying no gracefully.
It's a multi-step process. Start with calibrated questions. How am I supposed to do that? Express inability gently. I'm sorry, that just doesn't work for me. Soften it with empathy.
Like Joaquin and Jesus getting Bruno to bid against himself.
Perfect example. They never directly said a hard no to his offers, just kept asking how. Questions and stating inability, making him solve their problem until he offered a price they could accept.
And the author buying the truck using the same idea.
Exactly. Repeatedly saying no, indirectly through questions and expressing limitations until the seller met his price. It's subtle, but very effective.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, it's clear the big shift is moving beyond pure logic into emotional intelligence.
Definitely. Asking those calibrated questions, understanding the power of no, aiming for, that's right, bending reality, finding those black swans. It's a whole different toolkit.
And it's not just for high-stakes stuff. It's communication with results, a skill for everyday life.
Absolutely. From the boardroom to the living room.
So here's something to think about as we finish. Look at your own assumptions about negotiation. Are you maybe too focused on the logic, missing the emotional undercurrents? Try picking just one thing we talked about, maybe labeling, maybe asking one how question this week and see what happens. How can understanding that emotional landscape lead you to better outcomes? Outcomes that actually strengthen relationships.
Worth considering, right?
Definitely. Thanks so much for taking this deep dive with us today.